speak to me about it to this day. I had a chance to see that. I'll never forget, and it just reminds you of the role of art. Art is to the community what thoughts are to the individual. When you roll around at night, going through all the things that you're going through in your life, reflecting on who you are, where you hope to go, who you hope to become, your strengths, your weaknesses, your triumphs, your failures. What those thoughts are to the individual, art is the forum for that, for the community as a whole, where we reflect on who we are, where we hope to go, our strengths, our failures. We decide what our values are, and then we act on them, hopefully. And that's the role of art. Entertainment is just a byproduct.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that byproduct. I would say, byproduct's a fairly good explanation, because that can also encompass garbage.
Yes, right.
Byproduct. That's the stuff you throw away.
Right.
But that's also what that's what makes the money, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So when did you start to put that together in your mind? I mean, what was your arc as you grew up in this neighborhood, and your old man, you probably what was his background? What did he instill in you?
My father, 17 years old, living in the Calliope projects with his mother, and he goes off to World War II, comes back and marries my mother. And he'll never forget when he came to Pontchartrain Park. He talks about it. That's all he talks about. I remember when I came back here and I bought my house. That was such a seminal moment for him.
Yeah.
And my mother was a school teacher for 40 years. So priority on education and understanding that you have a life that you need to focus on fully. There are those who do not have your best interest at heart. That was the thing that prepared us for the virulent violence of segregation and racism and all of that. Just steeled us to say, hey, what do you want to do? Focus on that wholeheartedly. Educate yourself, because that no one can take away from you. That is your greatest wealth. One of the first wealths you can get is a wealth of knowledge. And so my parents really focused on that. There's a wealth of knowledge, right? So richness was always measured by knowledge, right? Do you know about this? You don't? Oh, shit, you need to find out about this. So I grew up, that was the whole thing. My peer pressure was all about, man, you don't know what? Marc.
Yeah.
You're a comedian. You never heard of Lenny Bruce?
Right.
Man, you bullshitting.
Right.
Yeah. You have a sense of history and all. So that's how I was sent out into the world. That was kind of like the norm of the community. It lends itself. People call me an activist and stuff. And I'm like, wow, I never thought of it that way. My whole thing is kind of like, you live your life knowing that there are those who do not have your best interest at heart, and you steel yourself with the tools given to you with the knowledge that you've acquired.
And also, I think that it had something to do with the fight that it wasn't necessarily a fight, but your dad coming out of, a still sort of like segregated racist, organization in the military, Yeah. And then
my father got awards, his unit was, won medals,
right,
accommodations in Saipan. And he got back, his papers were behind him. He got back through Fort Hood in Texas. And he told a WAC officer, female officer, hey, I think we won some medals in Saipan. She said, yeah, right. You.
Wow. Yeah.
And he was pissed off. Cut to a couple of years ago, my mother was still alive. This is like 2010. Oh, we got a letter from the Army. Your father's unit got all of these medals. And your father was so mad. He's like, I don't want them. So I want to, we should follow up and get these medals for you, Dad. I'm like, all right, let me see the letter. And my mother brings me a letter from January 1945. And I was like, what?
Oh, my God.
I was like, wait, I thought you received this yesterday. She's like, no. So, and I went to the World War II Museum, and Senator Mary Landrieu at the time, she helped me get my father his medals.
You got him?
His medals in 2010. And I'll never forget, man, my father was, he's like, yeah, he got his medals.
Yeah.
Cool.
Was he happy about it?
He's like, man, that woman, he wasn't mad at the country. He was mad at that woman. That woman wouldn't give me my medals. And I was like, shit, I don't want them,
Yeah.
And so he got his medals, man. So it was, there's an advocacy and that was bred into me and nurtured in me out of necessity.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That was my point, was that it seemed like that your family, that your father and that generation, if they could pull it off, really kind of establish a black middle class.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Out of my neighborhood, the first black mayor, Dutch Montreal, his son, Marc Montreal, who became mayor. He's now national president of the Urban League. I grew up with Lisa Davis, who was the director of the EPA under Obama, our first black DA in New Orleans. I grew up with him.
Right.
Terrence Blanchard, who great Grammy Award-winning musician and composer, and he actually composes for films, does most of Spike Lee's films, and Perry Mason, which is on right now. He composed that. Academy Award nominated also. So.
Well, because you've got that pressure from both sides. You've got the sort of institutional racism and white community wanting you to fail, and then you've got a different class of the black community putting their own anger on you, for how you define
classism. And that's why I think that's why my parents always said, if you notice, they never said anything about race. They were like, listen, there are going to be people who do not have your best interest at heart.
Right.
So you accepted people on face value and know that for whatever rationale, some people are going to try to, they're not going to have your best interest at heart. But what you do is when those people are identified, when you identify those people, don't give them any more energy. Push them aside, work through them, go around them. That's just one less person you have to worry about. You don't have to which is really interesting in this reckoning, because I guess I'm the cynic. Sometimes I'm the cynic, but it brings me to the fact that I'm not here to educate, man.
Yeah.
I got 20 summers, with middle age and stuff, and you start going, I got 20 summers left.
Right.
I got that from Jennifer Lewis, man. I heard her say that. I was like, damn, that's right.
Yeah.
Right. Of course, we hope for a lot more, but I got 20 summers left.
Yeah.
So am I going to waste my time on trying to educate this cat to his, implicit and explicit biases and stuff? I'd rather just deal with changing the policy. I'd rather try to change qualified immunity, where, the cop can shoot you and say, hey, man, I was in fear for my life. But he was running away. I was in fear of my life. Right. Yeah. That gives them qualified immunity, something that was
I'm always in fear for my life.
Right. Yeah. and it's literally a legal doctrine, sanctioned by the Supreme Court in the 80s that, everyone knows. We get rid of that. People will have to go, oh, man, I can't just say I'm in fear for my life. You have to show just cause for a shoot. I'd rather change that than say, hey, man, when I'm stopped by a cop and they say license and registration, I have to be careful. If I go for my wallet like this, I could get shot.
Yeah.
And if someone says to me, hey, man, really? I don't understand that. Why? You're either feigning ignorance or you really are fucking stupid,
Yeah.
Or, I don't have time. I feel like, people always say, oh, man, I've had my white friends call us, like, man, we got to have a conversation. I'm like, man, we don't have to fucking have a conversation. You know what the deal is? I'm trying to change this policy over here. We'll talk about it. Shit, we got a lot of time.
Well, I think that's interesting, because that's what's happened to a lot of people is they always knew, but for some reason, what you just called the reckoning is now I think finally the empathy has connected, and now they understand it with their heart. I mean, to intellectually get it.
Right. And I understand it with their heart. Right.
And I think
and that's why I have to say now, you see, I'm part of the problem, right? Because I'm being so cynical and I don't have time for people's, epiphany.
But I don't think so.
And I should say, I should apologize for that. I should accept the humanity and people's epiphany and coming to it. But I'm reminded of a night in Chicago, right? Rush Street. I'm coming out. I'm trying to hail a cab. Get this, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, the cabs are passing a brother by.
Right.
You know what the deal is, right? And I'm like, damn. So these couples come out of a bar, and I say, hey, man, as a joke, and I'm drinking. I say, hey, man, when do you good white people hail a cab for a brother? Right?
Yeah.
And the dude says, oh, man, that's fucked up. Yeah, man, I'll do that, right? And he hails a cab for me. And his girl goes, I don't understand. He goes, don't worry about it, baby. No, I don't understand. Why does he need us to hail a cab? And he's like, please shut the fuck up. What are you talking about? And I'm like, man, that's cool. He goes, no, man, come on. You could tell. And he got so upset with his girlfriend, right? Because she earnestly was saying, I don't understand why. And he was like so embarrassed by that. Like, man, she knows. That's some bullshit. But and so I have to say that, I'm complicit if I don't allow people to have that human moment of empathy and epiphany.
Right. When
something they knew intellectually, and maybe it was even subconscious, comes to a conscious state and connects with their heart. And so I'd say to all my white friends and allies, yes, I will have the conversation with you.
You don't have to have a fun. I'm not telling you.
At least let it be over a nice fucking meal, It
could be
a drink.
It could be it could be a short conversation, like it's about time.
Yeah, right.
Right. Do you have a lot of siblings? How many people in the?
I have three. It was three of us, two older brothers. My oldest brother is deceased, and I have one brother who went to West Point.
Wow.
And went to West Point, had his military career, and then he went into telecommunications, which I was like, telecommunications?
What does that mean?
He was a military attaché in Belarus. I was like, what is a military attaché? He goes, a military attaché.
Right.
And then he leaves the military and he goes into telecommunications for XO Telecom on the West Coast. And he has to do 6. And, they do a lot of work in Asia. So he goes to Asia for a couple of months. I'm like, man, that sounds like some CIA shit.
Oh.
So then I realized, what is a military attaché? He goes, man, come on, man. Every embassy, that's all we're doing is spying on each other.
Right,
I'm like,
right.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
I said, do you? He goes, no, I mean, I've worked with some of the guys.
I know people. Yeah,
I know people, but I'm not. So I was like, but he's not that anymore. He's at PBS now.
Oh, wow. Okay. So now he's paying his karmic debt.
Yes.
So, I guess my question is, though, when did you decide that? Because you're such a well-rounded actor, and you're a great character actor, and you seem to have a real passion for the craft, and it's important to you. When did you realize that was given your background, that was going to be the thing?
I kind of knew when I was young. I wanted to be an actor. I went to Performing Arts High School here, New Orleans Center for Creative Arts, at 14.
Uh-huh.
I was playing football, and all of a sudden I decided they came recruiting for it. And me and my mentor, Elliot Keener, who was the teacher there, we just clicked in the class. And then I went there, and they were serious about training. We didn't do plays. We just worked on scenes. We worked on text, worked on our voice and movement and theater history, So it was a real serious approach to it. And while I was there, Winston Marsalis was there and Harry Connick Jr. When I left, Anthony Mackie came along in the theater department. So it was a real serious school. I think one day somebody's going to do a story on that school. It was a real incubator for talent. Here in New Orleans. And that prepared me to go to Juilliard. And what I really loved about that, I loved training because I realized it was a tangible thing. It wasn't happenstance,
right.
It was approaching it from a way of giving you skill sets that you would be able to work in many different situations. So I, to this day, have prided myself on trying to be as diverse as possible in my career. I do a play, television, and film a year. I try to do one of each a year. The trifecta, I call it.
Well, is that something that Juilliard instilled in you as the sort of work ethic of it? That as a working actor and a guy with a reliable and practical skill set that they gave you, that you should spread it out?
Yes and no. Yes, because it gave me the skill set, and I came to the conclusion that what would work best for me is to make sure it's varied and different. If I just try to have a film career, I just try to have a theater career. I actually moved to LA because I couldn't get cast in plays in New York because they were always looking for people with visibility. They're looking for name people to play the lead. So I said, let me go to television. Let me get out to LA, do more television and film and get a name, and then back and do and come back and do plays. But I was in class with Brad Whitford, Brad Whitford was in my class at Juilliard. And so I would say